Pay attention. That is the sin we need to avoid. That is the sin of inattention. We need to pay attention to Christ. We need to pay attention to his kingdom, and we need to value his kingdom and value everything he is. We need to pay attention. Jesus is getting ready to tell a parable. He's getting ready to tell a story, and this story is on the heels of a story that was condemning the religious leaders. He just told them a story that we read about, and it ends by saying this, that when the chief priests and the Pharisees heard this parable, they perceived that he was speaking against them. And Jesus then goes down even more. He puts in his feet. He makes sure that they know that he is speaking these parables against them, and he's going to tell them another one. So in chapter 22, verse 1, and again, Jesus spoke to them in parables, saying, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who gave a wedding feast for his son. Okay, we have this imagery here now of a king giving a wedding feast for his son, the son being Christ, the king being God the Father, and he sent his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding feast. So these would be your preachers. These are the Old Testament prophets. These are those people that are going to say, come to the wedding feast. The Messiah is here. The Son of God has come. But they would not come. So who do you think these people that had been invited to the kingdom, who are these people supposed to be? We're supposed to be the religious leaders. Out of all people who you would have thought would have accepted Christ, it would have been the religious leaders, but they did not. So the king sent more servants, because if they didn't send them, if they didn't accept the first invitation, maybe they would accept a second one. And they said, tell those who are invited, make sure they know exactly what they're missing out on. Make sure that this is not just a regular old wedding feast. This is the king's wedding feast, and the king really has spared no expenses in getting this feast to be the greatest of all feasts. So they're saying, tell those who are invited, see, I have prepared my dinner. This is not some small lunch. I have prepared my dinner, my oxen. So we got one big animal, but it's not just one oxen, or it is multiple oxen. I would say my ox, right, if it's just one. So he's got several oxen, but that's not just one choice of meat. He even has his fat calves, and it's the fat ones. It's the best ones. The fat calves have been slaughtered. This is what you would do on a great feast day. So all this meat has been prepared, and he said everything is ready. Everything is set. The tables are ready. The utensils are ready. We're ready for everybody to come. Come to the wedding feast. This will be a wonderful meal. But what did they do? They did what I told you we should avoid. They paid no attention and went off. So what happens is when we fail to pay attention to the value of Christ, when we fail to pay attention to the value of God and his kingdom, then we end up doing some terrible things. So look at what these folks in our story did. They paid no attention and they went off. One went to his farm because he thought he'd have better time in his farm than going to this wedding feast, and another to his business. He thought he'd have more time at his business than going there, or than going to the wedding feast. But then others, look at what they did. The rest seized his servants, treated them shamefully, and killed them. So you see, this is the picture of Christ and the servants, the people that are being invited to the wedding feast, invited to the feast of Christ. These servants that are doing the inviting are killed, and the ones that are being invited are killing the ones that are inviting them to a wedding feast. When you pay no attention to the value of Christ, you end up doing some terrible, sinful things. So the king was angry, and he sent his troops and destroyed those murderers and burned their city, very similar to what happened in our previous parable. Then he said to his servants, the wedding feast is ready, but those invited were not worthy. Go therefore to the main roads and invite to the wedding feast as many as you find. Go get them all, because these were not worthy. Let's make sure the house is full. And those servants went out into the roads, and they gathered all whom they found. They got both the good and the bad. So everybody's coming in to the kingdom of God. So the wedding hall was filled with guests. But when the king came in to look at the guests, he saw there was a man who had no wedding garment. He was in there and he was inappropriately clothed. And the king, he said to him, "Friend, how did you get out in here without a wedding garment?" And the man was speechless. He had no excuse. He was trying to sneak in. He was a hypocrite. He did not truly have the righteousness of Christ applied to his soul. Then the king said to the attendants, "Bind him hand and foot, cast him into outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping, gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen." We see that many people had been invited into the wedding feast, but only a few actually made it in. Only a few were actually chosen. You can't be chosen unless you actually accept the invitation. You can send out a ton of invitations, but it's only those people that actually accept the invitation are actually chosen. Many are called, but few are chosen. So here is my journal entry. I hope you have read the passage before you watch this video, and I hope you even journaled beforehand too, trying to find a scriptural insight, a prayer, and then an application. So the scriptural insight is this: paying no attention to the value of Christ results in sinful actions. Hopefully you saw that in the reading. And my prayer is, help me to pay attention to how worthy the heavenly feast is. Help me to pay attention to how valuable Jesus Christ is. And here's your application. Here's your sin to avoid. I will avoid devaluing Christ and his kingdom by coming to him in personal worship, reading the Bible, praying, singing songs of praise to him. I will avoid devaluing Christ by making sure I am setting aside that time for personal worship. I pray that's been a blessing to you. I'll see you in the next video.